Before we call our meeting to order, we're going to stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance, and have a prayer. You'll join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing. Father, we thank you for this evening and the opportunity to celebrate successes at school, and we would just ask that you would help the board make good decisions tonight regarding the school, and that you would protect and sustain those that are here day in and day out with our children. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
We will officially call our meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. The first thing we have tonight are some Cobra Pride Awards, and the first one, Mr. Freeman will be handing out.
So back in the fall, we were lamenting the fact that the new federal guidelines for our after-school program prevented us from spending money on food and food products, which resulted in us having to cancel one of the most popular classes, which is cooking. Mr. Marco, Michelle, you'll come up, learned of this and graciously stepped in, and not only did she volunteer to teach the class for us and train other people on her staff to train, but she agreed to provide all the food products for the class. Wow. And she did this out of the goodness of her heart, without any compensation. And we just wanted to let you know, Michelle, that we really appreciate your dedication, not just to our after-school program, but more importantly, your dedication to our kids. So it gives me great pleasure to give you this Cobra Pride Award. In here. Couldn't get out.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so
much. Appreciate it.
We have some middle school awards, and I believe Ms. Bird is going to hand those out.
Ms. Webb had to go to a funeral visitation tonight, and she couldn't be here, so I volunteered to give them out. I apologize for having to read this, but she gave me some stuff she wanted me to say. The National Geography Bee, there were about 250 middle school students that competed in all the preliminary rounds until they were, all the students were narrowed down to the final 10 that the student body got to see compete against each other, and that's according to the National Geographic rules. So this year, 2 amazing 5th grade students took the top spots, and the runner-up was Javier Diaz Cruz, and the school champion is Nolan Coleman. Is that correct?
Is that correct? Because it says it's the opposite on the screen.
Well, I am going by what Ms. Webb.
Okay.
Nolan won.
Is that correct?
Yeah, Nolan. Nolan won.
Okay.
Yeah, Nolan did win.
We'll get that corrected so we get Nolan the recognition deserving. But we appreciate it. Is 1 and 2 here? Both of you here? We have either student here?
Oh,
okay.
man.
Okay. Well, we'll make that correction.
Okay.
So we'll just switch them. Thank you.
And then for the spelling bee, the winners of the school spelling bee this year were 3rd place, Christian Alexander, and I don't see him here. 2nd place, Nathan Toff. Over here. Nathan. There we go. Congratulations. And, okay. And then the school champion is Aiden Hall. Is Aiden here? Not here? Oh.
Okay. Let's give
So you look like you're the overall winner.
That's right. Yeah. Up here. Good job.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Got it. Very good.
Congratulations.
You did.
Good job.
All right. And then I have some junior beta awards to give out. We competed on January 23rd and 24th at the junior beta convention for the state of Arkansas. And there were about 52 kids that competed all together. And we had 7 students that won awards. And one of our first place winners was Celeste Ray Garibay. She's here. She created an art and mixed media. And so she used different types of art media to put together. And I wish we could see it here. We don't have a picture of it, but Celeste, congratulations for that. And all the winners here today get to compete at nationals in June. So we're really excited for these kids to say he's got to stay up here. In painting, Yesenia Morales, she won 2nd place in the painting category. She painted a beautiful canvas painting. It's very pretty. I wish I had those to show y'all, but we'll take pictures later and put them online. And she won And then there were kids that competed in academic areas, and for social studies we had in 8th grade, Lisa Curtis was 1st place, but I don't see Lisa here this evening, but she did win 1st place in social studies, and that's out of like just 8th graders. Aren't there, Troy, wouldn't you say there were like 100 or more, maybe even more than that? Just 8th grade, because for each grade there were 4 tables, at least 25. Yeah, there was at least 100 people there. And Lacey scored 1st. I mean, she made the highest grade. So I was very excited for her. And then in 6th grade, Eli Schrader, and I don't see Eli here either, he won 3rd place in 6th grade. So, I think that's awesome for those kids if they score so well, yeah. And then we have other academics, but this one's speech. So for speech, Trayton Gray competed against 6th grade, 7th, and 8th grade students. And he had to stand up and give a speech in front of judges, and he placed 3rd.
Wow.
2nd. Oh, 2nd? Oh. Well, congratulations. See, that's even better than mine. I had 3rd up there, don't I? See, that just, I was crazy that day. Okay. You're trying to keep up with everybody. And then in math, Troy Riggs, he's in my homeroom. Scored 3rd overall in math, which is awesome. And then in 3D design, which is another art project, Abby Burden and Melanie Magana, they worked together on a team and they placed 3rd in 3D design. So yes, sir.
This time you're gonna have to pick.
Yeah. I'm proud of these kids. Okay, it's good. Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Very good.
Very good. I'll be taking a breath.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Are we doing a band award? Okay. Okay. I was like, I don't see. Okay. So that's on our Cobra Pride Awards. Good stuff going on. Next, we'll move into our consent agenda items, which consist of the minutes from our previous meetings, bills for the current month, and the 2021 school year calendar. Board members have had a chance to look those items over. If there are no questions or concerns, we're going to consider those approved by unanimous consent. Do any board members have any comments this month? I do want to say that the board has been invited. Let me get this on my bag. I can find it. There is, maybe I have it, maybe I don't. Okay. Well, I'll just tell you, the board has all been invited. There's a chili cook-off this Saturday the 29th. That's for the band. And I'm going to be one of the judges for the chili cook-off. So all the board.
You get to eat?
Yes.
I think so. I think that means I get to taste all of them. But it's a fundraiser for the band. And the board has been extended an invitation to come. So I would like to invite you all if you have time. It's from 2 to 4 on Saturday the 29th.
That would be in the cafeteria.
Safe room
Safe
eight.
room 8. Yep. Anybody else have anything? Different people.
Today's spring.
I'm
I'm
not.
not in this year.
Have you ever
I've
been
lost.
in?
I've lost
Oh,
before.
They'll have several
Several.
different people doing the cooking. So
You gotta
if
participate.
you
Cindy,
if you have a good chili recipe, you're invited to bring some and enter the contest. Okay.
We will go sample them.
Yes. Okay, let's move into the superintendent's update.
Sure, a couple of things mentioned, met with Ms. Bowen. We kind of looked over where we're at this point in time in the year, and everything seems to be running. The only, don't see any revenue overall's up to about $135,000 as far as collections year to date. What she had on paper when I had a meeting there, and then along with that, we have a few expenditure areas that are running pretty tight, but as the budget as a whole, we don't see it anything that is really causing us any real concern at this point. We are going to probably bring to you an amendment to the budget to reflect the action that you've taken in Fund 3. If you recall, in the fall, we were looking at some specific expenditures, and for us to be able to go ahead and pay those out of Fund 3, we actually have to conduct an amendment from the auditing perspective. So when you look at the reflected balances, Fund 3 does not show a reflected reduction to the degree of each of those action items. So probably we'll see what we can do to bring some amendments to clean that up a little bit. It can occur at the end of the year or during the year, but the funds will be expended out of 3, not out of 2.
Okay.
I want to give you just a summary of the work that we've been doing on classified salary schedules. We're not at a point to truly present a final product for discussion. It really needs to be kind of reviewed and discussed among PPC. We've roughly met with secretarial divisions, paraprofessional division, maintenance division, have not coordinated a meeting with the bus drivers yet. But we feel like that where we're at right now is we're trying to move our salary schedules away from the minimum wage requirement completely when it lands on the, I think it's $11 will be the final statutory requirement. So our schedules, we're looking to put enough money into them to make the base level pay where that's no longer a compliance issue. So that's one of the strategies that we've been working on. The other is we've asked each division to really review their essential duties and think about their work, and we're using kind of a formatted job description format that they've kind of worked within. It includes the report, who they report to, gives some clarifications around the expectations of those duties. And so they've been working on that. Tanya's worked very hard with different divisions. That work is still a work in progress. So we really want to bring a proposal to the board where you can not only see the pay structure, but also see the expectations of the employees. And then when you make a decision in that regard, you know what the expectations of the employees are that you're approving along with the compensation. In a general sense, each of our classified step schedules is roughly $178 in step movement intervals. We're looking at extending those to at least $225 in the step intervals. So we've looked at some different proposals. Each proposal, as I told the divisions, has to have a ceiling. The overall step movement and the increases in this schedule would be reoccurring new money right at $100,000. So the overall impact to future budgets and the investment of these schedules would be $100,000. If you did not change those schedules for step movement to occur, you're looking at a minimum of $30,000. So that just gives you a general sense that you're making new funding commitments in that degree. We do have each of those schedules. I just felt as though I did not want to bring those to the public without bringing them first to PPC. So, and they've been actually getting to see some of those schedules. Some of the divisions have seen them, some of the divisions have not. At this point in time, when we look at bus driver rate of pay, what we're paying currently, we're really not looking at anything in that division. So we would like to say that everybody gets the same, but that'll fully be at the end of the day to the board's discretion. I'm trying to create comparable pay, and that is an area where we're paying higher than others. And so we're trying to equalize. We pulled schedules from other school districts, of course, as part of the analysis, and it's really, it's extensive work, it's messy work, and at the end of the day, we'll do our very best to make sure that we value all classifications of employees and make sure that we're still yet monitoring what we can do with the current resources available. So that's kind of where we're at this time.
Good.
Any specific questions? You may have heard something from someone that you would want me to create a point of clarity on. Because anytime I start meeting with those divisions, sometimes they start asking questions, and so if there's something you want me to try to address that you've been hearing repetitively, I'll try to do it. Okay. Kind of a point of celebration as it relates to our alternative learning program. We're in our third year of a partnership with Arch Forward. We've had different directors up there during that period of time. We have a partnership with Jessieville. It's on the Boys and Girls Club campus. The district and Jessieville have joint ownership in the property. So it is a piece of property that the school district owns in partnership. And so I received recognition or communication from the Alternative Learning Education Division, and the Fountain Lake School District has been selected for a day at the Capitol in which they are going to bring 3 students from the Alternative Learning Program. I'm going to allow them to pick the students, and we're going to take them to the Capitol. They're going to meet with legislators, be in the rotunda room, and celebrate the program that we have here at the Fountain Lake School District.
Wow.
So that's a big recognition, and that's something for us to be proud of, and we're really we're trying to highlight and monitor each of those students that enter. Our goal is to either bring them to a point of graduation or get their confidence level to a point where we can have them enter back into our regular education program. And so in doing so, we feel like we've had some successes there, and so that's being kind of recognized at a state level. So you need to be aware of that.
When will that happen?
What is it, the 9th? Yes, it's the 9th on a Monday. I'm working with Mr. Skinner right now, and I'm going to allow him to select the 3 students because I feel like he knows the students' levels of commitment, level of progress. We want to take a Capitol tour between roughly 8:30 and 10 o'clock is when the ceremony will start, and then they will provide lunch to all of us at the conclusion of the day. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's a nice recognition.
Yes. I think in here, did Robin link this in? Is there any questions regarding new board member institutes, first time frame? I heard you guys kind of talking about that. The only other thing I'll kind of mention, and I don't know if Mr. Campbell was going to address it or not, but we have engaged with our commitment on the mental health counseling through the guidance of the board. We've taken another step. I attended a meeting in late January as we were in this process of services at the state level, attended a meeting on a health services grant. And so in a general sense, what we're going to attempt to do is write a grant that will do a wraparound service that will provide a physician on campus at a minimum of 12 hours a week if we're approved for this grant. We did send out a parent survey during parent-teacher conferences for those that participated and kind of asked some questions around what interest level they had in those related services. And I have a scheduled meeting tomorrow with the clinic and the pharmacy down the street here. And we will actually have to write in kind of what the framework of space, the exam rooms, what it would all look like. The grant would have roughly $150,000 in the first year to help you with your facility upgrades in terms of your renovations. I do know that sinks are required in each exam room, so plumbing will kind of be a premium, if you will, because sometimes that can be expensive depending on location. We've vetted a couple of locations. Probably our most cost-effective location would be considering where IPT is currently at. I went by there today to see Mr. Craver and make him aware of this meeting that I was going to, and he was probably out with his wife. I don't know, but there was a sub in there, so you know, we'll just take this one step at a time. Anytime you write a grant, it's an enormous amount of work. And as an end result, you're either a winner or get an attaboy and you go next time. The one thing we will gain out of this is we'll do the legwork on the mental health counseling side. We have to do that legwork anyway on the referral process, doing a needs assessment, and so all of that work is required as a component of this grant, and I intend to probably use your commitment of the counselor funds as an in-kind match to the overall grant program, which should make our grant very worthy of qualifying. So,
and is this for, you said physician services, is this for just for sick children? Is this for well things like vaccination? What is it?
It can include, it can be all encompassing and have overarching elements of nutrition blended in. You can extend it to options of voluntary dental as a component. The requirement within the grant is you're going to have a physician on staff or a practitioner that could write scripts or assist in that process a minimum of 12 hours a week. It will also require us, the other reason I'm thinking of that space is you've got to have a student access area and a community access area. So this facility would not only be open to students, but you could realistically, a child and a parent could be seen in the facility at the same time. And then the other thing with this facility would be, because it is state funded in that regard, any person that walked through that door would be provided services, regardless of what they qualify for. That's one of the stipulations, is anyone that's in need of medical attention, they receive it at that point in that regard. So it would, what we would be looking at then would kind of process, do we need a mental health coordinator to kind of monitor the outside agencies. In this role, a health services coordinator would monitor mental health outside agencies plus the relationship with the physician and be a complete encompassing wraparound service, and the grant would pay for a coordinator. Okay. So that's kind of the direction we're taking the grant. I just want to give you an update on it. We will be submitting that grant probably prior to our next board meeting. It was amazing to me that you had to attend a meeting to learn about the grant at the end of January, and you had to have it submitted in March.
And you had to be at the meeting to give us the
Yeah, we're one of 15. And we're going to give 6 grants.
Wow.
So we're working at it.
Good job.
Okay.
I want to kind of turn it over to Mr. Campbell. I'm going to kind of encourage you to open with kind of our plans with PD for the summer, and then you can go other places if you don't mind.
Right, so in that calendar that you approved just a
while ago, you'll see that there are principal directed days for the summer professional development. And we've got that planned out. Ms. Curry, Mr. Janasky for their buildings to have folks come in from Teachers College in New York to work with our folks on this Readers Writers Workshop. And I know that you hear from all sides of the reading wars, this is good, this is bad. Some of what they don't like is what's an element of RISE. It's not an element of Readers Writers Workshop. It just depends on who you're listening to and who they're listening to as to what they're complaining about. But the bottom line is we're going to use this Readers Writers Workshop training in our science classrooms, in our math classrooms, in our social studies classrooms, art, because it is a system, an approach to teaching.
Right.
It's not a content entirely in itself. So that strategy will be seen by kids in all of their classrooms. And so we'll see that integration throughout the building. We're really excited about that. So I wanted to share that with you. It's this time of year where we send out our letters of intent and begin to gather those back in. So we'll begin having staffing transitions. We have a few pieces of personnel today, but it's that time of year where that'll be an ongoing process from now until August 1st, probably, where we're dealing with those sorts of things. So I wanted to share that with you. And then the PLC early release agendas are on there as usual. You can look at that and see where those are working. A lot of data crunching, enrichment, remediation work being taking place. And so this, that's some pretty effective time. So we're really pleased with it. Any questions?
The only other thing I would add instructionally is the high school is in the process. You and I attended a portion of their PLC, and they're right in the middle of the restructuring and vetting their course description, course catalog. If you've got a child in the secondary level, they're beginning that process of thinking of the number of sections and who's teaching what going into next year. And so they're right in the middle of that work and getting that course description book ready to go, and that's going to impact the recommendations around staffing.
Okay.
When our kids leave middle school, do they fall in line with, do the high school know where the middle school left off at? Do they keep that pretty, the transition?
Yeah.
You want to let a principal, you want to try to address that, or let a principal, and you're thinking in a context of ability, placement in classes, is that what you're speaking of?
No, not necessarily. I'm just like, let's just say math.
Okay.
Yeah, if you were in Algebra 1 in 8th grade, then there's a logical course taking to follow. Math's probably the one where you have the cleanest transition from, because you have Algebra 1 coming out of middle school or you don't.
Right.
And so Algebra 1 is what you take, or you take the next course if you already had your Algebra 1. The other courses, you're going to have, you'll have some, when you're going from 8th grade to 9th grade, Ms. Keys will go down and meet with the 8th graders and talk about course taking. So if you're in pre-AP English in 8th grade, then you're probably going to be recommended to take pre-AP in 9th grade. It doesn't close you out of pre-AP in 9th grade if you're not in 8th grade. So that's probably the way it's going to roll. So yeah, they have a communication.
Yeah, I was just, whether it's history or social studies.
Yeah, there's basically a flow chart.
The junior high teachers, do they ever get with the senior high, or middle school teachers ever get with senior high? And just,
So
this is kind of where we left off.
Right. So what I would tell you is that each teacher has access to a portal called Trian, which they can go in. And so we have an advisory class for the freshmen. So every teacher has an advisory of freshmen. They have an advisory of sophomores. And so if you're taking a group of sophomores, Corey picks up a group of freshmen, and you're bringing these freshmen in, you can go see how they have worked in the middle school level. We're transitioning. It's easier with sophomores, juniors, and then the seniors. Mr. Baxley, is there anything you would want to say in the bridge, or Mr. J, as far as getting a child in the appropriate classes? If they're a borderline, let's just say a pre-AP English or a regular English. I listened to Mrs. Keys explain that process, but I don't want to explain it incorrectly.
We sent out a form to all our teachers from students in 9th grade on up that those teachers already had those students. So those teachers are making the recommendations. What if they're in regular math class and a teacher thinks they need to be in a pre-AP, so they'll go ahead and put them reserved on the spot, so that when we have our CAP conference coming up, March the 12th, I believe it is, then our parents and our teachers can talk about those slots that they put them in. But it's mainly the teachers who have already had those kids make the recommendations for their students for the next year.
That help answer it? Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we go to support services side?
All right, Hayden.
Well, I'd say on the line A there, we got access to the property Monday. OA Winds mobile home is moved off and relocated over there on the Danville side. The property was left kind of messy. You know, we had a lot of torn down shed that was up there, that was left there, some shingles, insulation. So the maintenance guys have been there cleaning that up the past 2 days. They've done a good job. Just finished today. And
you got it cleaned up today.
And we were in the trash bin, filled it twice, and it was a mess.
The cat's
Say the
gone.
least.
Yeah, we want to know about the
I
cats.
think the cats are gone. You know,
Fantastic.
As far as we know, all the structures where they could hide are now gone. So we feel pretty good about it. We think OA went came back up and trapped some of them to come back to this house. They should all be gone.
Good. Good. That was just a lot.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we began to work with the utility company. If you haven't noticed, they're wanting to put a water line here just adjacent to the property.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we've been working with RDOT,
Yeah,
BNF Engineering.
we've been working with RDOT, BNF Engineering, with Daniel, with BNF. And, really we had this plan out. We had about 5 meetings with Daniel, conference calls with RDOT, and we had this in our mind planned out the way we wanted it to go. And I got a phone call from Robin today, probably around 1 o'clock, and she had some guy with messy boots in her lobby. And we came down here and found out they were ready to start going through our property, through the wind property, going across campus. And this would all be directional boring for these 12-inch water mains. So nothing will be really getting dug up. There may be a few areas on these corners where it kind of feathers back parts of our property close to the road. They may have an excavator in our roadway. Dr. Murphy sent out a communication this afternoon and just regarding parking spaces. If people have to move back to Safer and B, maybe middle school flows up to the IPT park, K1 park, and kind of start shifting the campus back. Students are going to be allowed to utilize the side gate over here where visiting buses park. So we're going to be making move for that. But they gave us about a 2-week window of what it'll take to get a directional bore, pretty much from the stop sign over here. We turn into the admin building all the way to the end of our property, cutting out Basin Drive.
Now, they're not boring under the parking lot.
Yes, they are.
They are?
Yes.
So in the element of utilities, there's certain utilities that are not placed in the right-of-way of RDOT's construction area. And so RDOT did the buyback to the edge of the construction area, and then some of these other utilities will be placed on the property owners up and down the highway. So we're a property owner just like any other resident, so they'll actually be putting this water line on their property outside the boundary of the RDOT take line for construction. So yeah, the boring will actually occur. If you look in the middle school There's a green line. We walked it today with them, and it's 10 foot away. The green line represents the sewer line. It should be roughly 8 to 10 feet towards the highway. And that green line in certain areas of the middle school parking lot is almost out to the edge of the parking area adjacent to the highway. So we're asking that no employees park down through there so they can have their equipment. We're going to have to monitor closely students and staff in that regard over the next couple of weeks. It doesn't mean they're going to be using all of that at one time, but they are going to be progressing through there probably within a week. And it will inconvenience people, so, you know, they're going to have to walk further.
You know, if they do this, they're going to bore the main water line now, and they're also going to bore the fiber at this time.
No, this is the first step of relocating parking multiple times.
So we're going to have several borings going on with fiber.
So don't think we're done, we're just getting started.
Right. And
We are streaming this, I'm repeating that statement, in case anyone's listening.
I guess this is in the right of way for public utilities is where it's.
Yes. Yes, sir. So, you know, what I would share with you based on what we thought was a late March to an early April water line placed in our section, it has put us in a position where we are trying to get this 605 elevation grade established, work with B&F Engineering to really, all we're seeking is to obtain a 605 elevation point at the highway. And then we want to cut everything that we own and remove it and move it back towards the creek and up towards the visitor bus parking. And so we're going to bring to you a bid proposal probably within 3 weeks, no later than a month, that will tell you what it will cost to complete that work. Without a specific engineering drawing, we've had 2 different contractors look at it, and one of them gave a rough estimate initially in the, 270 range, and he came back today thinking more like 350 to have that completed. So
And that's taking it down to an elevation of 6.
just visualize down the road, we start at 605, and we try to stay level, and then we migrate, and the goal would be is we want to shape all of the water towards the creek and away from the ag building. Because
Okay.
currently we've got quite a bit of water that's coming in behind the ag building. So
Well, we'll
wait for the bid, we'll
Wait
see where that bid
anxiously.
comes in,
Yeah.
and if we feel like here again, we've been planning for an expenditure according to excavation for a period of time, this being a part of those Fund 3 balances.
right.
Board has to be well informed as to what the cost is and where we stand financially, but this is a project that if we don't want to relocate a water line 2 years from now, because this water line is going to go in the next 3 months. And so they're going to bring it in at an elevation point higher than 605, because if you think of how tall that hill is, they're going to bore it through there. But what I'm trying to do is get it at 605 and then let them put the water line on our land below 605.
Right.
And for all that to happen, we would need to excavate this spring. So we're going to bring a proposal to you to, by May, or no later than July, that project is complete.
When are they, aren't they putting that in now though?
Well, the unfortunate thing is they have so many properties between here and Fox Pass that they have not been able to purchase. RDOT does not have a clean, what they call a clean easement. They have partials, and so they're kind of up here with us because they have the linear foot of the school. They thought they had a clean easement roughly from where the old historic house is with the cave, almost up to Sonic, and so that's why they landed on us first.
But, well, I think what you're saying is, aren't
They're
they
gonna hold
fixing to
off.
go ahead and put the water line in?
They're going to hold off on
On the-
either from the creek
On
to
the
right
wind?
here.
Okay,
They're
They're
gonna
gonna
go
pick up.
put this in.
Yes, they're going to start Monday,
Okay.
probably
In front of
tomorrow
the school.
afternoon in front of the school.
But
Okay.
not on the.
Not on the
wind
08 property. So we're buying some time
Okay,
to allow us to conduct the excavation to have a new established elevation point to complete the water line.
Okay.
That would be our goal.
okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. Good question, any more on that? So Hayden, tell us about the awning,
All right, I'll be over at that first sheet.
which I see those drawings.
Yeah, so
Guessing
I'll
that's
just
from
put
Lotus?
this up here. This is from, this is another firm. It's from Philip Engineering out of Little Rock,
Okay.
part of, Mosier's Crew. Hit the plus sign at least one time there. There we go. So this is not the scale. So, we've kind of replumbed this several times. I feel
Okay.
very confident about this one. From our walkthrough, we had concerns about water. Where's the water gonna go?
Yes.
We at the time was going back into a hollow 4x4 post and draining out, and where's that drain to, and we walking right across it.
Right.
So that's been addressed, and the shootout part, how far it's going to overhang, was concerning, only having 6 foot. Now it's at 10 foot. So what we've done here, Rob, if you go up on the next slide, it'd be easier for me to show it. That's sheet 2. Zoom in with it. There you go. So the overhang's gonna be 10 foot, actually 10 foot 6 inches, and then we're gonna have a gutter, a 6-inch commercial gutter on its backside. So when it does rain, the water hit the awning, fall back into the 6-inch gutter and go through our existing gutters that are there now. So we have one facing out facing drive, and the other one going out towards the TV building. So there'll be no more crossing across your feet.
Okay.
And the only other thing I'll add to it is we're doing a parapet all the way around the top. I know the other picture kind of showed that better, Rob, just when I click on the other PDF. So what we're thinking here is, when this awning has to support a bus driving underneath it, and that height is right at 10 foot 6 inches. So this awning will be quite a bit higher than that, so we can pull our special needs bus in, or any short bus that needs to come through this area. And really, having a height of the awning pitching up, it really takes away if we want to have our elementary logo down here. This allows us to move that top and kind of give you a finished product of a roof going across.
You think the mall front,
Yeah.
Right.
falls
Yeah.
front, same concept.
So that's where we're at right now, and this drawing just came to me 2 days ago. So they've been working very hard on it for the last 3 weeks. And we have some rough numbers right now. I was talking to Jay, and he hopes by really the next 2 weeks have a very good number that we can bring to the board in our March meeting.
Good. I like that.
Yeah, I think you're not very nice.
I think it looks nice.
Of course, the things that, in summary, that we're picking up is we're extending the awning length to give us more coverage, cover more area, and then we're redirecting runoff water and channeling that to either end of the space. Because one, we're not trying to carry the same length of linear space as we were carrying the span of the backside of the building out along the road. So
Right.
all we're doing is we're doing kind of an L.
The L.
Yes.
And it will tie in.
Yeah, so we're gonna be building this, so if we get ready to do it down the length of the roadway at Basin Drive, it will be built to be tied into.
Okay. And on the other side, it's going to tie into the existing awning over there by the entrance.
Stand alone against it.
Correct, it will.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this won't be attached to the building, if I understand.
No, it will not.
Will not attach to the building.
Okay.
And one thing I'll add too is, the final price is gonna include the footers, concrete work and all. That's a big expense. ADE has their own regs that we have to go by.
Yeah.
Even though, like we learned in our last canopy, we had it built by SDI. Their engineers built it. So here's what you need, you're good to go. When we submit those plans to ADE, they say, well, here's what we would like it to be before we approve it. So, we built that. The proposal that we bring in March will be ADE approved before we bring it to you.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you for doing all that legwork to get that done. I know this has been a big project.
No problem.
Do you have anything else for us?
That is it. I will submit, one more thing. The sign out front. We've been going back and forth with that. Rob made that phone call this afternoon. That's the first thing we're worrying about. I do have a guy scheduled for next Thursday to start moving the sign for us.
Okay.
And we may hold him off, since we're doing the directional boring now, and to keep him out of the way. Dr. Murphy, myself, and Mr. Campbell and Mark Davis all walked around in front of the gym. I believe it was this week, to kind of identify the location where we think the sign's going to be most beneficial. So we kind of identify that location, that driveway through that area, right here in front of the gym will be blocked off. And so that way the signs will be sitting pretty close to the middle of that roadway.
And that, with the setback of the roadway and the study of what this is gonna look like in another year and a half, we've gotta go ahead and place this sign. The roadway will probably not close, but in all of our, as we're looking at pedestrian traffic safety and different options for drivers, that roadway potentially will be closed.
You're talking about?
When the new highway is opened up, that we will, as a board, you'll have the final say, but when we're looking, I'll present something to you probably in March that will show you a new footprint of entering down here by the creek and funneling all parental traffic onto the campus in a singular way, and then guiding them to either pick up or drop off consistently in the same manner. And allowing the other egress in where Face and Drive is with the light to manage our bus traffic on that end. So we've still got quite a bit of work to do there, but this is an area where it provides an egress to the administration building and back to the main entrance, but it does not carry a large volume of cars. It has blind corners and it's very tight to the entrance of the building. So when they move this road back, people don't realize how far this road and this sidewalk and everything is going to come onto our campus.
Yeah.
And so we're having to move the marquee into a location where people might think, well, why didn't you put it in the ditch? Well, you're not going to be able to put it in the ditch because the ditch is going to be a part of the road or the sidewalk or the bicycle path.
Right.
We've got to be thinking 3 lanes, curb and gutter, and a sidewalk. That's the new.
Yep. But it's going to be nice.
It's going to take a little while to get there, but it'll be there in another 1.5 to 2 years, we hope.
Okay. All right, let's move into our new business. And Corey, will you read? Oh, did we have anybody signed up? Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, go ahead and read our first motion.
Motion for Board President Dana Greason and Dr. Murphy and Superintendent to be given the authorization to sign on behalf of the Fountain Lake School District number 18 for the purchase of 0.43 acres from the Arkansas Department of Transportation in the amount of $11,475.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion. I believe this is the section that they purchased on the Wynn property. Is that correct?
I'll give you clarity on it. What this is quite frankly a redo. They did not feel comfortable with the prior motion made. The 4.3 acres is from the administration building down to Face and Drive.
Oh, okay.
You already approved this once. They wanted greater clarity because when we sent them board minutes showing that the board president and the superintendent has authorization, we gave them the policy. They preferred it be in a motion, so all we're needing tonight is to see a motion to vote on and then give that to RDOT.
Okay, so this is just a redo of...
Clarity in the motion.
Okay.
To give them authorization for putting on their auditor on a check basically that they've already cut to us and we have in the bank.
There you go. Okay, any other questions on that one?
We're buying it.
We're not buying it.
No. Okay. Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Let's have the next motion there. Corey.
Motion to submit an application for a permit to issue bonds with related documents for $9,870,000 in refunding bonds to the State Department of Education and to employ First Security Beardsley as physical agent and to authorize the superintendent of schools to accept or reject the best bid submitted in connection with the public sale of the proposed bonds in consultation with the physical agent.
All right, that was a mouthful. Okay, let's open this up for discussion. And is Ray going?
Yeah, we're gonna present on this topic as a point and then allow for a question and an answer from there. Of course, for anyone listening or anyone here, the intent of this is a refinance to save the overall amount of interest paid on the full extension of a note, just like you would do in a context. We're going to attempt to explain this here, and hopefully we feel as though it's advantageous to the district to refinance because there's significant savings that we can garner in this process. So I'm going to, Ray represents First Security, and we're glad you're here. Step up and share a few things with us.
I appreciate that approach.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Might add that we did meet roughly 2.5, 3 weeks ago, went through this information. I'm seeking new estimates that even look better than when we met last time, which I'm sure he's going to deliver.
You bet.
So we're going to be refinancing our existing bonds.
Yes, ma'am. You have two bonds, and one we're not touching because it's the QSCB bond, which virtually is 0% interest, so we'll leave that alone.
Right.
But what we're talking about is your 9/1/12 bond, and on the left-hand side of your packet, your current, this is not on there, but you can write it down if you'd like to, the current rate on the 9/1/12 is at 3.29. Current rate's at 3.29. And below, we've used an estimate of a 2.65. Now, we really think it's going to come in much lower than that. And the beauty is, right now, and I'm going to show you the cost in a second, the cost is already figured in. So anything it goes down substantially increases the amount of interest savings. We've had some bonds we went in, the projection came back, the rate we got doubled the amount of savings. Don't know until we get it in the market. It was 3 weeks minimum from tonight before we can get it in the market. We have to run an ad in the paper 2 weeks, starting next week. So that's why we're at least 3 weeks. Then we run into spring break, so we'll have to work around that.
Okay.
And on your right-hand side of your column, we're estimating the first year, the 19-20 school year, this is school year, $107,070 in savings. And next year, the 2021, $303,893. So the total in the first 2 years is $410,000. And overall, at the bottom of the page, $453,424 in savings. Again, interest rates less than 2.65, it's gonna be greater. The three things that determine the amount of savings is the length of the bond. The farther out the bond is, the more savings you get. Second, size of the bond. The larger the bond, the more savings it will get. Third is the rate you're currently paying versus the new rate you get when you bid this out. Now, cost-wise, I'd like every board to see this. I want you to know everything. Behind the motion on the right that you've already read, you'll go back to the page. It's not numbered. It's about the 6th page back, and at the top of the page, it says breakdown of estimated cost. Right there, you've got it.
It's following page 4. Not numbered.
Everyone find that, okay? Find it there, one more, I think. Here, you got it. So at the underwriter's discount, it's the company that buys the bonds. They get up to 2% of the size of the bond is their fee. So underwriter's discount's $205,000. Issuance cost, that's our fee, the bond attorney's fee, the printing of the bonds fee. That's $46,000. So you have a total of $251,000. But that's already out. So in other words, you're looking at $700,000 in savings, but you've got to pay to be able to get the savings. So once that's out, this is net. These are net dollars.
Okay.
So the cost is already out. So if we get a lower rate, now it just goes up because they don't get any more money. Their fee's already set because it's based on the size of the bond.
Okay.
So now we can talk about substantially more money, and hopefully that's what will happen. Again, we will not know until we get it out and bid it. In Arkansas, by law, we're required to bid a competitive sale and take the lowest rate. We cannot do that in negotiating. Cities and counties, we do negotiating. In other words, we negotiate it and tell them, here's your rate. On schools, we have to bid it, which is great. So we get the lowest rate out there. And right now, bond rates are historically low. So we are getting some really great rates. And actually, it's kind of funny. The worse the stock market's doing, which I hate to see that, the better the bond market's doing, because they jump out of the stock market, they get into the bond market, the investors do, because they feel safer. And then that requires more bonds to be available, because the inventory's down, because they're buying it. So we need more inventory, so they get more aggressive on their bids. It's kind of a unique situation. And Madam President, I want y'all comfortable with this, so ask any questions. And then the motion, as the Secretary's already read, is the motion that you will need to adopt if you want to move forward with it.
So,
Go ahead.
first question I have is, why does it drop off so substantially?
It's a great question. We have two ways we can do your savings. We can do what's called levelized, and you would get similar amounts, not exact, but it's similar amount all the way through the bond.
Okay.
You'd actually even get more savings than 453.
Okay.
But here's why we don't like to do that. If you have a 5-year call, so in 5 years, we can call this bond, give you opportunities. Or if rates drop in 5 years, we can refund the bond again. If we levelized it, we made money. I've got a fee, and you've not got all your savings. So we do all of them this way if we can. Front end load that savings, so we know you've got your money out. Then in 5 years, we have to refund the bond because of some projects you're wanting to do or lower the rate. You didn't lose out on the deal. So that's why we do it. Great question.
Right. Gotcha.
What's the difference in the two numbers? You got 9.87, 10.295.
What are you looking at?
Makes a difference. You got 9.870.
Oh, okay, so the
Front page.
motion that Corey read said, motion to submit an application for a permit for $9,870,000.
Bond size is 10, so this is your motion. Evidently, when we sent the information initially, we had to resize this, and this is what it came in at. This is the actual size of the bond. If we sell less, this is actually just a max. We can sell less. So if the bond size turns out to be less, that's not a problem. But we can't sell more. So this is the motion that we will need. I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you.
Yeah.
But this is the bond size.
So we need to restate the motion,
Yes, please.
according to the $10,295,000.
Correct.
So, Robin,
Good.
that was good for you. You got it? Okay. So 10,295 is the max.
Correct.
That would be approved.
Okay.
Right.
And then I want to have a point of clarity. You're thinking that if we move forward with this spring, we would actually receive savings in the amount of an estimated $107,000 in the current fiscal year.
In the 1920 year, yes, sir.
And those savings would come because we've already collected the money to pay the bonds, and that money wouldn't be needed to pay our principal and interest at that time. Is
Your
that what
payments dropped.
You're right, our
And
payments
so
dropped.
because your payments dropped, you had more money now that you know
That
not.
we've already collected.
You're not gonna actually get a check for
I
that.
understand.
Right.
But it's-
We just won't have to
It's
expend
based
it.
on the money that we collected, and we can pay the bond for the principal.
The reason I point that out is we budgeted for the full amount of the payment, and the intention of the utilization of the savings in the current year is why we're having the following recommendation of an
Gotcha.
employee bonus.
And there's no restrictions on
On it.
villages that have been collected to pay bonds that we can use for other reasons.
Right.
These savings, a great question, these savings now are unrestricted. About 3 years ago, they previously were restricted, could be used only on academic facilities. And they changed the law, which we're glad they did.
Okay.
It helped schools out. And now your savings is totally unrestricted. It can be used in operations, it can be used in a building fund, it's totally up to you.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that.
Good question. Okay, what other questions do you have, any? Okay, I'm gonna restate the motion just so that we're all clear. It's to submit an application for a permit to issue bonds with related documents for $10,295,000 in refunding bonds to the State Department of Education, and to employ First Security Beardsley as fiscal agent, and to authorize the superintendent of schools to accept or reject the best bid submitted in connection with the public sale of the proposed bonds in consultation with the fiscal agent. If there are no other questions, all in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Madam President. We have one housekeeping item at the back. We currently serve as Fountain Lake's financial advisor. We do many things for the district, for the district treasurer, the board, and the superintendent at no charge. We charge no fee for being your financial advisor. But to be that, we have to have you under contract, because one of the services we do for you is post all your financial information, which is a requirement to a service called Emma, for the bondholders to have that information. And there's companies that charge $2,000 to $5,000 a year just for that service. We don't charge you that. And what we do is, this says that you will be, if you do a bond issue such as this refund, we'll do it for you. And we have posted behind the motion our schedule of our rates. Haven't changed in over 20 years. It's the same rates that we charged, I say, for the last 20 years. It's also on file with the Loans and Bonds Department at the Department of Ed.
Okay.
So, Madam President, we ask that you continue our employment as your financial advisor, and the motion for you to adopt it. The board wishes to do that is on the behind that.
Okay. Corey, you want to read that motion for us?
Motion to employ First Security Beardsley as financial advisor for a period of 3 years, effective as of the date of adoption.
If there are no questions on that one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Madam President. I've got a couple of pages for you in the secondary side.
Okay.
This one, you'll sign the top line, please. Secretary sign below you. And this one, you'll sign on the top line at the bottom. There's 2 lines at the bottom. You'll go to the top
Okay.
line there. Thank you, sir. And the same thing. This will be the top line there out of 3. We appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
It's always a
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Thank you.
You do a great job explaining things
Well, I
to
sure
us.
appreciate it. Appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Dr. Murphy, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Dr. Murphy, do you need this stuff? Everything?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Keep
Ray.
me in the loop on the next steps.
Yeah, I'll notify you when the sale set.
Okay.
Thanks.
The
Okay.
only question I have is do you think we will be April, knowing where we're at? It could
Possibly the
be,
last week of March, close in April. That's what we're shooting for. Michael, the one that sets that for me, will know that tomorrow.
okay.
Hey, Ray.
When's our next principal and interest payment?
We do have a question. Corey noticed, he said on one of those documents, it listed the 9,870,000 instead of 10.
I'll correct it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure that that's corrected to match that motion.
Okay.
So no problem.
Very good. That's it. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. Say anything else? We have to do it before close, before your next payment, when you get your second.
Right.
So we'll make sure that.
But it's June 1st, I
Yeah,
think.
that's what we'll make sure it has to be closed before May 1, 30 days in advance. So that's probably why we'll do it in April.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You bet, thanks.
Thanks so much. Okay, Corey, our next motion.
Motion to approve an employee bonus for all staff employed at the time of this meeting as follows: certified 1,000, classified 500. These bonuses are to be distributed of the March 2020 payroll check.
Okay, and there is an attachment that shows the
Yeah, go
total
ahead and pull that
breakdown of.
attachment up, Robin, if you will.
of the
It kind of shows
cost.
the overall cost on each side. There would be incurred cost out of the current year budget.
Mhm.
Two things that I would share with you when you think of budgeting: there's always budgets and actual, and so a couple of comments that I've made was that the overall revenue seems to be trending slightly up. If we endure the degree of savings we're seeking at roughly 110 to 120,000, if it comes in short and we're at 100,000, then we'd be looking for roughly $75,000 out of the current year. If you recall, at the beginning of the school year, when we designed the budget, we had 2 full-time equivalents, and a head football coach and a science teacher that we did not replace. I feel confident that we have flexibility within this budget based on the current savings and that flexibility to be able to offer a bonus at this point in time. The other thing I would share is that we have distinctively focused on instruction and some projects, and I think we're at a point where we need to return a portion of that to the staff. And so when I say that, we had a couple of projects that we approved in the fall that we were approving out of Fund 3 related to some intercom upgrades for safety, and if you recall, some other projects. And so at that point in time, we were focusing on our goals associated with safety and security and facilities. And so this gives us an opportunity, I think, with the interest savings that we will have, couple that with the current design of the budget, and it puts us in a very favorable position to do something for employees at this time.
Are there any other questions?
I would say this did come up before Christmas, but it was a little late, wasn't it?
Well, it came up, but it's, you know, first and foremost, there's always a wish for Christmas, and then there's a reality of what we can afford. And sometimes you don't always get the Christmas present you were hoping for. But we're hoping that somebody will enjoy something for spring break.
Well, what I like about it, it's not a reoccurring expense.
No, it's a one-time expenditure.
One-time expenditure, and it's something we'll observe by the staff.
Yeah. Okay, there are no other questions. The motion is to approve an employee bonus for all the staff employed at this time, certified 1,000 and classified 500 to be paid out in March. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. The motion carries 4-0. And it is well deserved.
Yes.
Okay, next motion. Tori?
Motion to extend Dr. Murphy's superintendent contract to June 30th, 2023.
Okay, and I will just, for those of you who are newer to the board maybe, and just so we're all clear, his current contract, when he was hired for 3 years. They've been extended by 1 year, so that keeps 3 years out in front of him. So right now, his contract would expire in 2022.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's correct. I'm always, yes. So this extends it out. We're extending it by 1 year. The 2 are already guaranteed, so we're extending it by 1 more year. So I probably did a really poor job of explaining that, but if you have any questions,
We're done.
okay. If there are no questions, then the motion to extend his contract to June 30th of 2023. All in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. The motion carries 4-0. Next motion.
Motion to accept the letter of resignation from Nick DeMarco as middle school teacher effective May 22nd, 2020.
Okay. This is not something, because it's personnel, we're not gonna discuss. If you have questions, we will have to go to executive session.
Right.
If there are there any questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. Motion carries 4-0. Next motion.
Motion to hire Morgan Wallace as school-based mental health provider effective March 9th, 2020.
Okay. And I think y'all were able to look at her resume that was attached. This is the mental health professional that we have been discussing,
Yes,
right?
it is. Yes.
It is finally, we have come to that point. After much discussion, but it looks like she has a lot of experience at Fountain Lake. So, are there any questions that we have that need to go to executive session? If not, the motion is to hire Morgan Wallace as our school-based mental health provider. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carries 4-0. And we have two more.
Motion to hire the following for the Corlane position for the upcoming 2021 school year. Greg Fulton, high school math teacher.
Okay, and this is a return to Fountain Lake, I think.
20 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Weird, isn't
I know, when I saw that come up, I was like, hey, that's familiar. Any questions? Okay, all in favor of hiring Greg Fulton as a high school math teacher, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. That motion carries 4-0. And we do have one more.
it?
Sanello? Sanello?
Amy Sanello.
Okay.
All right, motion to hire Amy Sanello as a FACES teacher for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. She will work after school while FACES is in session between the hours of 3:30 and 6 p.m. Ms. Sanello will be paid out of the 21st CCL grant. CCLC grant.
Okay. Any questions on that one? If not, the motion to hire Amy Sanello for our FACES program. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion carries 4-0. And any other things for the board or for the community? We thank you all for being here. We're adjourned. We're adjourned.
You don't win. Oh, really?
Any two. You did a great job.
Hopefully we can refinance.